2. Stan Lynch. When I first moved to Gainesville, I stumbled across an article in the local newspaper about Stan Lynch, the original drummer for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. It's a well-known fact that Tom Petty and the rest of his famous band were all from Gainesville. His legendary song American Girl contains the line, "Yeah, she could hear the cars roll by out on 441 like waves crashing on the beach." I lived almost directly off of the now famous Route 441 for a number of years. The article in the paper was discussing the fact that Stan co-owned a local music store in Gainesville called Sims Music with his business partner, a guy named Jeff Sims. I had been to Sims a few times since moving to town, but after reading the article, I made a point of going into the store the next time I needed to buy strings and guitar picks with a copy of my self-recorded, self-produced CD called Spin. I met Jeff Sims that day and had a really nice chat with him, and I just kind of shamelessly told him that I wanted to give him my CD to give to Stan because I wanted to see if he'd be interested in working with me. It took tremendous balls, and I'm not sure where I got them. Thankfully, Jeff was a really sweet guy and was completely understanding of the plight of the independent musician. He also knew that getting the attention of his powerful and famous friend and business partner could be a big leg up for someone like me. The truth is, I was a huge fan of not just Tom Petty, but every member of the Heartbreakers. Stan Lynch is still one of the all-time great drummers. Guitarist Mike Campbell has always been on my Mount Rushmore of guitar players. Keyboardist Ben Montench similarly provided me with a lot of inspiration on the keyboards. And if you're a songwriter and you don't count Tom Petty as a huge influence, then I'm not sure I trust you. Stan had left the Heartbreakers in 1994 just after playing drums on Mary Jane's Last Dance. After his departure, he moved back to Florida, where he partnered with longtime friend Don Henley to help put together the Eagles' reunion album, Hell Freezes Over. He also toured with the Eagles. Aside from his incredible drumming, Stan also contributed to albums by the following artists: Jackson Browne, T-Bone Burnett, The Byrds, Belinda Carlisle, Bob Dylan, the Eagles, Elliot Easton, Eurythmics, Aretha Franklin, Don Henley, John Mellencamp, Roger McGuinn, Scotty Moore, Stevie Nicks, Timothy B. Schmidt, Del Shannon, Toto, and Warren Zevon, and a whole shit ton of others. He also co-wrote and/or wrote songs for Eddie Money, Don Henley, Tim McGraw, Ringo Starr, Toto, the Jeff Healey Band, and the Fabulous Thunderbirds, among others. Jeff promised me that he'd deliver my CD to Stan the very first chance he got, and I told myself that I would not bring it up again no matter how many times I went into Sims from that point forward. I figured it would help my chances if I just played it extra cool and just kept my mouth shut. Every time Jeff saw me come into the store, he would actually bring it up, much to my surprise. He would say, "Man, I haven't forgotten about you. Stan has a huge pile of stuff on his desk, but I promise you your CD is in there, and I'm keeping on him about it." I had also left Jeff a business card with all my info on it to give Stan along with my CD. One afternoon, about 6 to 8 months later, I was checking my voicemail and was shocked and surprised to find that I had missed a call and a voicemail from none other than Stan Lynch himself. I pretty much memorized it. I think I may have listened to it about 100 times over. "Hey, Michael, it's Stan Lynch. I finally got down to the bottom of this big pile of stuff on my desk and had a chance to listen to your CD, and I just wanted to call and tell you that you're very good. I wanted to see what your schedule was like, man, and if there's anywhere that I could come catch you live sometime soon. Give me a call back." I was on cloud 9. I couldn't believe it. I returned his call but missed him on a few occasions. It was a busy time for Stan, as luck would have it. Several plans for he and Jeff Sims to come out and catch one of my local gigs fell through, but we did manage to make a tentative appointment to get together and write. Stan was in the process of reuniting with his former bandmates at this time in 2002. They were about to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I recall watching the ceremony aired on VH1 at the time. Stan played American Girl and Mary Jane's Last Dance with Tom Petty and the rest of the guys. Truth be told, I was kind of flipping out a little. I was having a really hard time wrapping my head around all of that. And in the process, I was busy getting into my own head about all of it. Stan Lynch wanted to write with me. He liked my record. Jesus. Not long after the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony, we managed to nail down a day and time, and we agreed that I'd travel to Stan's beach home in nearby St. Augustine, Florida, and spend the day with him. It was about an hour and 20-minute drive for me. I left in the morning and got there fairly early that day. I pulled into the driveway, parked, and got out. I walked up to the house and rang the doorbell. Stan greeted me at the door very warmly. He was dressed casually in shorts and a t-shirt, looking like kind of a beach bum. We walked up to the second level of his home, which opened up into a spacious living area with windows on all sides. Beachfront to the left and beachfront to the right. It was breathtaking. I tried to break the ice a little bit with some humor, and I said, "Wow, this must be horrible for you." He laughed, but I think he could tell that I was really nervous. I hadn't really been used to writing with other people very much at that point. Exploding Boy was a collaborative effort at times, but that situation often involved the three of us just jamming around until we'd hit on an idea. And then we'd either work it into a song, or I would sit down with the parts and arrange them all and bring them back to the guys with a little more structure at a later date. Or I would just bring in a finished or partially finished song idea, and the guys would then add their bits of flair to it. I'd never sat down all together with acoustic guitars and wrote a song from the ground up with anyone. Luckily, Stan was really easy to work with. He asked me if I had any ideas or chord progressions or song starts, any kind of jumping off point. I did have a couple things, and he ended up liking one of them, so we started building on that idea. And within a couple hours, we had a basic framework and a few skeletal lyric ideas flowing. At one point when we were stuck on a line, he said, "Okay, what would our friend Tom write here?" Our friend Tom? Holy shit. You mean your friend Tom? And then it happened. I froze. I started thinking of all the people that Stan had worked with and played with and wrote with. Holy shit. This guy has worked with members of the Eagles. Bigger holy shit, this guy has toured with Bob Dylan. Even bigger holy shit, this guy has worked with Beatles. I am so fucked. And with God as my witness, what happened next hammered the very last nail into my coffin. Stan's house phone rang in the next room. He let it go to voicemail. Back then, people had physical answering machines, and you could listen to people leaving you messages out loud while they left them. "Hey, Stan, it's Don. Give me a call back when you can. I wanted to run some stuff by you. Talk soon." Holy fuck. Did Don Henley just leave a fucking voicemail for Stan in the middle of our writing session? Yup, he sure as fuck did. Fuck. At this point, Stan knew full well that I was in the process of nearly passing out. So he tried to make me feel comfortable by acting even more nonchalant and relaxed himself. But this was having the opposite effect on me. There was a half bathroom in the direct line of sight from the L-shaped couch where I was sitting. We were talking about maybe writing a bridge for the song. Stan walked to the bathroom, left the door wide open, pulled his shorts down, and started pissing, just talking to me over his shoulder the entire time. "I don't think we should write a bridge for this song, man, because, well, it's going to sound like we wrote a bridge." So we didn't. Another hour or so went by, and we had a finished song. I wasn't sure at the time if it was any good or not, but it was finished. Stan then asked me, "So, what is it that you want to do, man? Like, what's your goal?" All I could say was, "I'd like to be able to write songs, maybe get a band together, try and get a record deal, and get on the road." He just looked at me and said, "Well, that's cool, man, but I'll tell you, I've been there and done all that, as you know. For me, if it's a choice between going on the road and spending the summer at the beach, I'm spending the summer at the beach. I don't know how many more summers I may get, so I want to be right here for them." I couldn't really relate to this, but I respected what he had said. I had a gig booked that night back in Gainesville, so I had to say goodbye and get going. Stan seemed mildly bummed. "Man, that's too bad. I was going to offer you dinner here." In hindsight, I should have taken him up on it. I could tell that he liked me, but I feel like I may have blown the opportunity a bit by just being so completely starstruck that day. It was nearly impossible not to be. I've been in touch with Stan here and there over the following years. Most recently was shortly before I moved to Nashville, which is actually 10 years ago now. He wished me luck with the move and told me that Nashville was a tight-knit community and that I would meet people in days and weeks rather than months and years. And that has proven to be true. He told me to feel free to reach out if I ever needed anything else, but I never took him up on it. Tom Petty is on a very short list of people who I've never met that made me break down and cry when they died. The others were Neil Peart of Rush and Robin Williams, both idols of mine. The loss of Tom Petty was crushing to me. I thought of Stan a lot during that time and wondered how he was doing. I know it had to be horrible for him, as I know it was for the other members of the Heartbreakers. I consider myself so very fortunate to have had this experience. Being literally 1 degree of separation away from so many of my biggest musical heroes through Stan is still an overwhelming thought for me. I think I've learned to appreciate it even more as the years have gone by, and now I wear it proudly as a badge of honor. It has been a long and winding road, as my father said to me all those years ago. But what a beautiful road.